I love cringe. I was born into it, molded by it. It's delicious. It tastes like umami. I'm sucking it out from underneath my fingernails. Call that a late night snack? Okay, I'm sorry. Please don't leave. We've all indulged in a maladaptive fantasy. Headphones on, daydreaming up a delusional storm. I've clobbered down the streets of the West Village. Techno remix of an ABBA song blasting. Feeling like a drunk Persian, thinking, oh, I am stunting on these homeless people and disgruntled artsy types who probably called Halstead a slur in Studio 54 back in the day. This is my needle-infested runway. Because it ain't just the fantasy. There's a part of you that wants others to perceive you a certain way. I wanted people to look at me and think, dang, that little coffee bean is so cool. I bet she can do a proper cartwheel without her knees buckling. I think this can be unhealthy. It reinforces the need to be constantly seen and validated by other people. And when I catch myself indulging in this, I gotta go. Looks like you did it again, chica. There's no audience. Who are you performing for? This is why the Sigma/alpha male and its female counterpart entertain me so much, because they're so rooted in this palpable desire to control how people perceive them. Now, for any of you adults watching whose brains have not been rotted by internet speak, a Sigma male is a highly independent, self-reliant lone wolf who operates outside of traditional social hierarchies, often introverted and quiet. They value freedom, self-sufficiency, and personal growth over social status or approval. Now, none of these qualities are inherently bad, but for the most part, this is just premium grade, FDA-approved copium for individuals who are just socially awkward. It's PR spinning the inability to do well in group settings as actually being a sign of hyperintelligence. My brother in Christ, you get a nosebleed every time you try and chat up abroad. It's okay. It's okay to be socially uncomfortable or to have a sprinkle of the tism. And if you don't have autism, you do now. I just gave it to you. It's transferable via screens now. All that doesn't make you Tesla. You know what would really be Sigma in that situation? Is when your nose starts to drip, you lap up a little bit of the blood and go, ooh, tastes like a skillet. Looks like I'm iron deficient. All of these labels are very appealing to people who might feel like the odd one out, who like the reassurance that these traits are actually good. Better yet, they make you special. But it ends up reinforcing this odd superiority complex. Now, Sigma's got memed into absolute oblivion to the point where now some of these phrases and visuals are unironically fun to use. I'm on my Sigma male grind set. I say that phrase unironically now. Shout out to that jacked fursona wolf. He's my favorite. Sometimes it really just be like that. There are technically female alphas or sigmas, but I mean, let's be real, it's a boys club. But I'd argue the real female counterpart is the dark feminine energy female, or dark femme, which just sounds like a Macy's fragrance. I'm not a black woman, I'm dark femme. Okay, I'm beige femme. I started seeing posts like this on IG, and I just went, what are y'all talking about? What does any of this mean? So what is the dark feminine? It represents the suppressed shadow aspect of the feminine archetype, focusing on raw power, unapologetic authenticity, and transformation. It is the part of us that is wild, untamed, and unapologetic. It is the part of us that is angry, fierce, seductive, and powerful. Visually, this seems to consist primarily of dark-haired women smirking. This stands in contrast to the light feminine. Nurturing, compassionate, gentle, warm, receptive, forgiving, empathetic, graceful, emotional, naive, magnetic, sensual, assertive, mysterious, authentic, creative, fearless, fierce, sensual, authentic. Okay, first of all, they repeated sensual and authentic twice. That's actually pissing me off. Expand your vocabulary. They're not even mutually exclusive characteristics. The distinctions are so arbitrary. Now, to be fair, the underlying objective seems to be sort of a rejection of enforced societal expectations of femininity. It is the smile. You look prettier when you smile. Comment you hear from older people sometimes. And the response the dark feminine would give is, frick you. I'm not here for your entertainment. Wait a minute. So in this hypothetical, it's not like a skeezy man yelling this comment out from, his Dodge, the teenage groomer's preferred vehicle. It's an elderly person. When an old man asks me to smile, I just start yelling at him in Vietnamese to trigger war flashbacks. It seems to just be like a repackaging of the concept that women have duality, but saying that you can be gentle and forgiving, but still refuse to get, taken advantage of isn't dramatic and metaphysical enough. So instead it gets reframed as when you can simultaneously channel the divine feminine healer, but also harness the destructive power of Medea, and you're swaying over a fire pit. Based on my research, the dark feminine subculture has 3 levels. I mean, it's more like an iceberg than anything, but I'm gonna stick to 3 official delineated levels. The first, most popular, is mostly aesthetic. aesthetic. The second level is more philosophical / lifestyle related. And the third is literally just voodoo, straight up. Which, to be honest with you, is not very surprising, because whenever you see a subculture that's constantly referring to like energies and vibes, it'll be more, you know, figurative. It won't be taken as literally on like the surface sort of level one. But once you start going down that metaphysical rabbit hole, oh, them crystals turn dark real quick. Level one, the aesthetic. Dark hair, blowout, dark makeup. Your sink is going to be so dirty when you wash your face that night. All black, like you are walking into your third husband's funeral, flexing on his children who are all older than you. I don't know where that accent went, but I'm keeping it in. Most of these makeup looks are just vampy, but with a bit more glamour. It's elevated, sophisticated. This smoky eye got a PhD, not a GED. And this look is actually quite pretty. I can see why, you know, people have this on their Pinterest boards. Also, let's be real. These looks are also popular because it's like gorgeous women who can actually do their makeup donning the aesthetic. Like, of course, they're gonna look good in it. This is true of most aesthetics online, to be fair. The masses yearn to be in a slow motion edit. Now, sometimes the light versus dark feminine girl comparisons can come off as a bit, I'm not like other girls-esque. In the world full of clean girl, I stay true to dark femininity. Man, these broads love Catherine from Vampire Diaries. The wigology they used on this character. Phenomenal hair. These clean girls with their sleek buns that are so crunchy from all that gel and their numerous autoimmune disorders. Girl, you want to live in a club? This house comes with a swole bouncer. A white one at that. I mean, your light bill is gonna be low, I suppose. A woman obsessed with herself always wins. Now, this is the most popular surface level of the subculture. It's women who just want to be, you know, beautiful, glamorous, high income bracket, but with a darker color palette. There is also the additional layer of desiring a sort of mystique and allure. Those are the two characteristics that seem to be the most attached to this look. And the idea is that by adopting this aesthetic, that you will have a persona or vibe to you that's more intimidating and mysterious, like a KGB agent. Now, level 2 is where things get a little bit more philosophical. This is the subculture as a lifestyle. So some individuals are taking the dark feminine aesthetic and they're combining it with a more philosophical interpretation of the phrase.
I was just giving so much of myself, and as a young woman, I think was one of the most detrimental things that I did. I feel like I accepted really bad behavior and disrespect because I just thought that was the way it was supposed to be, and what am I gonna do, like speak out against it, right?
So stepping into one's dark feminine era represents establishing boundaries and not being so self-sacrificial to the point where it's to your own detriment. Again, I think that it seems as if people enjoy the theatrics of using this phrase to mark a new shift in their lives, since saying I'm no longer a doormat isn't as dramatic. There's no hashtag for that. I do think that some people enjoy these labels because of their specificity. So instead of it feeling restrictive, it can act as a form of guidance. Now, is there anything inherently feminine or masculine or light or dark about setting healthy boundaries? No. So, I mean, it is an unnecessarily hyper-specific category, but, you know, there can still be utility in that. I think that some people like the individuality that these labels offer, but I think what they really crave is actually the sense of community that it provides them. Once again, I am getting mogged by these ladies. And yes, I am using a looks-maxing term unironically, okay, because it's fitting. I'm appropriating their language. I think that some women gravitate towards this sort of content because it can help them stop being so accommodating and people-pleasing. But the phrases that constantly keep getting used, I'm in my villain era. People are gonna think that you're being the villain. Like, they're so dramatic. This is like the kind of stuff that you'd listen to like when you're aggressively walking on a treadmill, or you're pretending that it's a runway or something, you know? Similar to like the Sigma archetype, the basic underlying characteristics of being stoic or self-sufficient or not being a doormat are not inherently bad. The dream of becoming that idealized version of yourself, I think, can hook people in, but it can also quickly turn into something very performative. And on the more dangerous end, it ends up like genuinely glamorizing very destructive character traits. On the more performative end, you get this hyperfixation on being intimidating, of having aura. And this is what I meant when when I said that a lot of these labels, they're so obsessed with the idea of not even necessarily being something, but having other people perceive you as that thing. The way her dark feminine energy, her eyes, and her presence make people nervous. Some people do naturally have this effect on people where they walk into a room and you just instinctively sit up straight like they're an army captain. But look, I'm gonna be real with you. You gotta be born with it. Like, you can become more confident, you can learn to make better eye contact, you can get better at having, presence, but that's about it. Like, either you have the sauce or you don't. It's in your bone marrow. I think it's similar to how you can technically become a better singer if you are tone deaf, but you ain't never gonna be Whitney. You're never gonna be Mariah. You're never gonna be Alvin. They came out the womb singing a high C. It terrified the nurses. POV, you tapped into your dark feminine energy and make men nervous effortlessly. Ultimate dark femme guide linked to my profile. Use the secrets with caution. Of course there's a guide. All right, first of all, let's just acknowledge the fact that a lot of these women have this effect, especially on men, because they're very conventionally attractive. And that's not to say that, none of these women have alluring or magnetic quality to them. Like, Angelina seems like she would just casually kick you down a flight of stairs and then, nurse you to health afterwards. But all of this, harnessing my dark feminine energy, nice, sweet patootie. They're very attractive and they know how to maintain eye contact. That's most of it. A lot of this advice would be so awkward if you tried to implement this in real life. Like, if you tried to replicate this, you'd probably just end up looking constipated. Or you'd morph into Melania Trump. Donald. Also, making men nervous is not that hard. Especially nerdy ones. They're already terrified of women. My biggest issue with this kind of content or advice, really, is that it isn't actually instilling real confidence. It's cosplaying confidence. The harder, people try and morph themselves into this persona, the more obvious it is that they're putting on a front. It's okay to not be mysterious. You can't acquire aura. You just can't. Just let the corniness wash over you. Embrace it. It's your strength. You'd be surprised how effective it is to just smirk at someone when they're trying to provoke or insult you, instead of getting angry or offended. Who are these people interacting with? I mean, there's this constant theme of being insulted and disrespected. Are people this normally surrounded by ops? It's the fanfication, I guess that's a new word, of conflict. In normal day-to-day life, people are usually getting disrespected like this. I mean, blatantly to their face, not in casual passing. By what? Family members and partners? Could you imagine if you tried pulling this with a rude auntie? You're gonna get boomeranged with a flip-flop. Can you actually imagine a real altercation with someone where you did this? Why are you not married yet? Huh? Your womb is vacant. It's collecting spider webs. You might as well rent it out as an Airbnb. Why are you smirking like that? You are on drugs. Stop it. What are you doing? This is why you cannot keep a man. Dark feminine tips. When someone is trying to tear you down, just say okay. Example, X. You look ugly. Okay. What? Again? Is this a routine thing for people to just get insulted like this to your face? To be fair, I think some of these might be outlier instances, you know what I mean? And there are individuals that unfortunately can relate to this level of toxicity from people, especially menfolk, which, by the way, that's another layer to this subculture. You ever see certain posts and you can tell this is supposed to appeal to women who have just been dragged through the mud by a man? Look, I know post crash out content when I see it. This might as well have smudged mascara on it. Soft girl era flopped, so I'm back to being the problem. That's right, girl. Key his car. Better yet, call in a bomb threat from his phone. Whoa. Okay, girl, calm down. Okay, well, I thought this was a safe space. There's a lot of unresolved anger. And I'm not trying to say their grievances are not valid, because I don't know what went down. But what's noticeable is it's the attempt at trying to play it off you're over it now. You've risen, reborn like a phoenix. But we can tell you're still in your feelings. It's when guys will post stuff she thought she could play me. Now I'm hitting the gym. Yeah, we broke up. She's broke. I'm up. She's not your girl. It's just your turn. Stop fronting. You know that she is still his phone screensaver. Every time he glances over at a notification, he tears up. Me, when I have to enter my villain era again. I just cannot take these posts seriously. I know that y'all do not have this kind of energy in real life. It's too performative. You still stalk his IG page, don't you? Had to make a burner account because he blocked your real one. Ooh, I know that is the lived reality of a lot of people reposting stuff like this.
Speaking to me is a privilege. You do not have privileges. Do you hear me?
If this is an ex that you're clearly not on amicable terms with, why are you even communicating? Is he your roommate? Do you still use his Netflix account? Old me, loyal during the talking. 1 man, 2 men, 3 men down. Well, the talking stage, it does mean nothing. They're not wrong about that. For some of you who might not understand, this is a reference to that stage before you officially start dating where she was showing loyalty to these men, but it turns out they had a roster, and now she's like, bet 2 can play that game. I'm gonna be talking to multiple men at the same time before, I guess, things get official. Dating in the modern era is exhausting. The menfolk made us like this. It's a lot of this, like, I'm in my villain era, I'm in my dark feminine era. It's a lot of women who are becoming emotionally callous and detached as a self-preservationist strategy. And granted, I understand the desire to not get played. If you deal with enough of this foolishness, it's not shocking that this is the response, but it also is very unhealthy. Becoming that girl tip. Men are emotionally intelligent, so when you block and remove him from everywhere, it shows him you still care. Any sort of attention is still attention. To win at his game, you have to not give a single frick. And let him watch you move without caring. This will hurt his ego the most. You see what I mean? Like, it's like, why are you so invested in hurting his ego? I think we all know what it looks like to still be angry and hung up on someone. And this is trying to, pass itself off as being like aloof and like nonchalant. You're not fooling anybody. You got shades on because there are tears welling up in your eyes. The attempt at seeming like you don't care, it's too much of a front. If anything, I would prefer an actual crash out. I'm not encouraging that you post these like crying videos online. Please have some decorum and value your own privacy. But at least these posts are, well, they are also performative, but they are raw. They're hurt and they're showing that they're hurt. They also make for good screenshots. Plus, they had like a good nap after this. All of this just leads to a very callous and transactional view of relationships. When he tries to love bomb me with words, but I'm a gold digger. Hashtag stay toxic. Hashtag stay woke. Hashtag divine feminine. Hashtag dark feminine. Hashtag it girl. Hashtag for you page. Hashtag goddess energy. Hashtag sprinkle, sprinkle. I would never advocate dating a bum. Do not get me wrong. This is not a woman like desiring a man who can provide for her so that they will be able to raise a family together. Like the basic reasons that financial stability are important. This is the byproduct of years of like emotional trauma leading to having a very deeply unhealthy and untrusting relationship with men. The lioness doesn't marry for love. The lioness knows all men are the same anyway. First of all, most women do not have access to millionaires. We're not all Slavic supermodels. So marrying into this level of wealth, statistically speaking, it ain't gonna happen. This is just dangling a delusional fantasy in front of these women. And at the end of the day, is it worth having a yacht if it comes at the expense of knowing that your husband is on the Epstein list? Y'all are not this emotionally aloof. If any of these women's rich, deteriorating, blood money husbands, whose blood is like the viscosity of pudding, were to actually cheat on them or have a bunch of women on the side, it would devastate them. You can put on a front all you want, but it don't matter how much money he gives you. It gradually will start chipping away at your soul, which is normal. That's the normal response to infidelity. Stop fronting like any of you are this emotionally detached. How did you get such a good mindset? You know what's sad but also kind of proves my point is that the woman who she's referring to is a content creator named The Wizard Liz. She posts a lot about female hypergamy and like tapping into your confidence, like make sure that like you secure the bag, you're not getting played by these men sort of content. And guess what? She got bamboozled by a man who seemingly love bombed her. Relationship moved very quickly, they got married, and then he cheated on her while she was 4 months pregnant with their child. Despicable behavior. This is what I mean when I say that this mindset, it's not healing or protecting women. If anything, it attracts predators who know that all they gotta do is get a fresh fade, hop into their least reasonably priced but still nice vehicle, play into what these women want, and then whoop, gotcha. As we move down the dark femininity iceberg, we get to a point that's like right before level 3, where things start to go from emotionally detached to emotionally unstable. My dark feminine rising like a phoenix because I allow myself to process my grief and tap into my sacred rage. I'm curious as to how this rage is even gonna manifest. Like, are you gonna go into the woods and scream? I mean, who amongst us hasn't? I have one scheduled for this week. I have a feeling that a lot of the women who repost stuff like this, they're not even bold enough to like call over a waiter at a restaurant because they're afraid of being too loud. There's also this like recurring theme of rebutting the idea that you're too much. People call you too much when they're not enough, too emotional, too intense, too sensitive. No, you just feel things deeply in a world that forgets how to feel. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not too much. They're just too numb. And a lot of these like dark feminine adjacent circles, let's say, you see this emphasis on like female rage in particular, and generally sort of embracing emotional outbursts. Some of it is more artistic than anything, or it's people who have a history of emotional repression feeling comfortable enough to finally express themselves, right? So I don't think that if you've ever resonated on some level with these like female rage compilation videos, that means that, oh, you have undiagnosed BPD now. Open wide. But I will say that I think that this trend of like posting crying videos, crash out videos, really like hyperfixating on these expressions of anger and frustration, which sometimes gets framed as like being cutesy and relatable. When you get kicked out of Claire's for accidentally having a mental breakdown and donkey kicking a girl getting your ears pierced. All of this, I think, is actually indicative that we are experiencing an epidemic of people, generally, not just women, but people not knowing how to emotionally regulate properly. Crying, especially on a routine basis, like anger and having anger outbursts, usually happens when there is a build-up of emotion and the body has no choice but to eventually let it out violently. Think of it as like emotional projectile vomit. The body has to expel it out. That you are not resolving the underlying issues that are making you sad or angry, channeling these emotions into something healthy and productive, or noticing the early signs of it building up, as opposed to either repressing those emotions or being overly indulgent in them, should be the goal. Perhaps some people are saying that you're too much because you are legitimately unstable, and it can be difficult to communicate with you. It's odd to me that this emotional instability isn't necessarily being glamorized, and sometimes it is, but it's being normalized, which is actually more concerning. And I am at least sympathetic towards people who resonate with posts like this, because it's usually because they do not have an emotional outlet. So everything builds up and they enjoy the catharsis of just letting everything out. But there's hope for them, I think, if they just build up healthier coping mechanisms. There are other individuals that I know will resonate with phrases like this that actually genuinely irritate me. I just think you're a bit too much. Then go find less. Oh, snap, girl, you told him. Something about these Facebook memes, they drive me insane, because you know that there are women who are genuinely very cantankerous and dysfunctional who are gonna resonate with this. You got shwasted during your ex's parents' anniversary and ended up crashing a cop car into a halal cart during Ramadan nonetheless. You nearly got a hate crime charge. So maybe when he said you're a bit much, he wasn't wrong. Fun, admittedly. I mean, at least that hypothetical, I actually made that woman sound a little fun, but too much nonetheless. It's like how narcissistic people, especially men, can be drawn to like alpha male content because they want to reframe people disliking them as a sign that like they're different. It's because they're not sheeple, they're not followers. They're just too intimidating. Yeah, that's why men don't like me. It's because I'm too intimidating. I'm just too much for them to handle. Okay. Or maybe it's because you're actually very difficult to deal with. Anyone who says this, frankly, regardless of gender, anyone who says that, like, it's because I'm too intimidating. That's why it's so hard for me to date. It's the flip side of like the whole, oh, I'm a nice guy. That's why girls don't like me. Because I'm not a douchebag. Cope. Premium cope. They never consider like maybe they're the problem. Sometimes the haters are correct. Moving down the iceberg, you get to the self-destructive tendencies repackaged as empowerment part of the iceberg. Notice how every dark feminine archetype was classified as some sort of demon or monster. Lilith, Kali, Tiamat, Medusa, the list goes on. Women have always been extremely sexual and chaotic by nature, and men had to demonize that in order to be in power. The further down the iceberg that you go, you will see these four female figures referenced quite often. This tweet immediately stood out to me because it speaks to this subculture's tendency to take negative characteristics like hypersexuality or chaos that have traditionally been associated with men, or at least associated with women in a way that is always negative, but not necessarily with men in a way that's negative. And it's encouraging the embracing of these characteristics without considering that they are discouraged for a reason that isn't just a power play. I don't know how the chaos that these people are constantly referring to is going to manifest in the real world, besides like the meme version of it where you just go feral. I mean, if you want to rummage through like dumpsters, okay, get your raccoon on. Make sure you don't get pricked by anything. The chaos within the context of these myths is more dramatic, but it's like, what are you gonna do? Like make a volcano erupt? The real way that most of this chaos manifests in people's lives is usually just acting in a manner that is self-destructive. Now, I do agree that there is a problem when these maladaptive tendencies are encouraged or normalized in men, like women being expected to uphold this level of chastity and virtue, but the men are just allowed to run the streets, just creating broken families on the coastline of every continent. That mentality just breeds a bunch of Andrew Tates, and we can't have a society of people who pronounce Bugatti like that. So that double standard is unacceptable, and it's true that historically men, especially rich and powerful men, have always given themselves leniency when it comes to some of these social expectations, because of course they did, they're hypocrites, because they wanted to have their cake and eat it too. But that's not to say that hypersexuality isn't quite dangerous, because intimacy is a very consequential act, especially if you're the party potentially getting pregnant. And of course, the sensuality that constantly gets depicted in this subculture is just reheated, like pornographic femininity, conveniently packaged in conventionally attractive female bodies. Visually, this is indistinguishable from anything that is the byproduct of the male gaze. This is not empowerment. This is just a category on an adult website. You know who's really gonna benefit from this quote-unquote liberation? Bum men with like onk tattoos or white dreads. They love this archetype of woman because they know they can just like rizz her up with some crystal talk, hit it and quit it, and then block her. And she's gonna be on IG trying to spin the whole thing like, yeah, I just used a man for his body and then dumped him. Hashtag boy toy. It's a tale as old as time. The audacity to think I'll be nice after being disrespected. Now, this post, seemingly innocent. I agree with this sentiment. You should have a spine and not tolerate being disrespected. The post itself is not what caught my attention. It was the comments. I don't exchange words. I use spells. Huh? I guess it's time for level 3. Get your incense and crucifixes ready, because this is just straight ooky spooky voodoo. This is not exactly surprising. We've already been like wading in the murky pagan waters for some time now. Anytime you start seeing this buffet style spirituality, like the kind of, I don't know, California philosophical mumbo jumbo that requires no discipline or self-restraint from the practitioner, it's just thinly veiled hedonism. The actual like occult is always right around the corner. Stop trying to heal. You've nothing to heal from. Go to the forest. Take the low road. Go feral. Be petty. Hex him! Whoa, 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 whoa. All right, well, I guess they're going full mask off. Now, look, I don't know what these women have been through. And I guarantee you some of them were, legitimately screwed over and treated terribly by whatever men were in their lives. But this cannot be the answer. Also, let's just say this. This is social media, right? Okay? So considering the wide range of people that this might attract, with some of these women, it's like, you know that they didn't necessarily go through anything that was traumatic to the point where it would warrant this level of rage. You know that at least like one of these women just got ghosted and like now she's doing brujeria in a closet like Azalea Banks. I mean, listen, getting bamboozled by a guy named Craig who has an R.I.P. Brian from Family Guy tattoo, that's a generational L. But your solution can't be lighting candles and trying to hex someone with a spell book ordered off of Temu. You're gonna open up a portal or something. God help you.
Lots of trauma. Lots of
Very
trauma.
insecure.
Very insecure. You kill me.
For some context, Lilith is the Jewish mythological figure who was banished from the Garden of Eden for allegedly disobeying Adam. And Hecate? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. She's the ancient Greek goddess of witchcraft amongst other things. Me walking up to my Hecate altar with his name in my shoe like, handle this, mama. Again. It's this hyperfixation on their exes and like the men who've scorned them. Also, I will say this about all of your exes being dusty. Look, if that is the case, that's a pattern, not a coincidence. Girl, look down at your own hands. If all of your exes are dusty, you're probably dusty too. This Wicca subculture, I'm not a fan of it, do not get me wrong, but I can't help but notice, like, it's just so goofy. It's like they're lighting candles in the woods and doing like group chants in mistranslated Norse. You're actually just reciting a recipe for pea soup, and they think they're breaking generational curses. Y'all got Waffle House after this. I would love to drop some of these people off in like a small village in Haiti in front of like an actual witch doctor. Watch how quickly these people are gonna start singing Kumbaya, my lord. They're gonna realize real quick this life is not for them. Well, I mean, it's not for anyone, but it's especially not for you, Christine. You're from San Diego. There's this bitterness and anger that just radiates from these posts. This unwillingness to let go, this vindictiveness. I mean, again, it's not surprising. The devil wants you to be angry and bitter. You know what's actually cool? What's actually badass? Forgiveness. Forgiving someone who's wronged you, like truly wronged you. It is truly one of the hardest things a person can do. It requires an insane amount of emotional maturity and strength. Like, you don't have to let them back into your life or justify what they did. But if these women like actually forgave these men who had, allegedly wronged them, and I'm certain there are some valid grievances here. I'm not saying you gotta hex him, but there are some diabolical men out there. If they were actually to forgive these men instead of not even dabbling, like fully being involved with spirits, they would actually become the badass women that they see themselves as. That is the only thing that is actually going to grant them any sort of peace or serenity. And do I think that like wanting to learn how to do, I don't know, like a dusky eye look is the first step down this pipeline? No. If you find a smoky eye palette in your daughter's room, that's the first domino. I do think it is interesting how quickly some of these internet trends can just devolve into very self-destructive echo chambers. I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw those IG posts like a week ago, I had my suspicions with all the energy talk that like this might get a little ooky spooky, but I did not expect this level of insanity. Anywho, what aesthetic or subculture online do you want me to talk about, or that has like way more layers to it than people expect? If you would like me to cover another topic in one of these videos, then please let me know in the comment section down below. As always, like, comment, subscribe. If there's any shady individuals watching this who are gonna try and hex me, God forbid, back off! I say that like any of them are watching this. I hope not. Anywho, as always, thank you for watching. Shout out to my top patrons. If you would like to donate to my Patreon, then please click on the link in the description or down below. Thank you to my other lovely patrons. Your names should be scrolling on screen as I speak. Bye.